Live. Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is Marianne Bailey with OnlineTechLessons.com and the Hip Senior magazine, and now the new directory. And as I was looking for partners for our directory and businesses that provide services for senior citizens and have the heart to serve senior citizens, I was looking for something that had to do with pets. And I know that pets add a valuable element to seniors' lives. They help them live longer, and they help relieve stress and make them calmer and just bring general happiness to seniors. And so I wanted that to be a big part of the Hip Senior magazine as well as the directory. And in my search, I started remembering a while back that I had heard of a foundation that dealt with pets and seniors. And in my search to find this, I came across Susan. All right, Susan, help me out. I just went brain dead. We just about talked that it was Kurowski, right?
Kurowski.
Susan Kurowski, and she is with Pets for the Elderly Foundation, correct?
Right.
Okay. And Susan, tell everybody what your foundation does and how you came about it and what you guys do.
At our most basic, we are committed to two parts of society. We are committed to homeless shelter animals, and we are committed to people age 60 and over. Our founder, who started all of this in 1992, decided that he was very concerned about the number of animals that were in shelters without homes, and he was very concerned about isolation and loneliness in older adults. And so after selling a business, he took his money and started this foundation. And we've just grown from there. Up until this point, up until the end of the year, we have been committed to providing discounts through shelters to older adopters. So if they go into a shelter that's in our program, they get a discount on their adoption. And we feel that this is kind of a 2-for-1 benefit. We have approached, we should reach by the end of the year 100,000 adoptions facilitated since we went national in 2002. It's a lot of lives saved and improved. And we've used that milestone as the jumping off point to enhance and enlarge our program a little further.
That's a huge number. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're very proud.
Now, you mentioned till the end of the year. What happens at the end of the year?
We have been working for a little bit over a year now we've written an expansion of the program. Our charter still requires that we do all of our work through pet shelters, but we have found, I've been with the organization for 15 years, and take a lot of the calls, not just from donors and shelters, but I take a lot of calls from individuals who find us much the way you did. And we have found that older adults are looking for help in other ways as well. So we are launching an expansion to our program. It will be basically the same. It will still be monitored and facilitated through shelters, but we are launching an expansion which will allow shelters to convert to offering different services for older adults instead of reduced cost adoptions. So those that have veterinary staff on site, some of the larger shelters do, they can now offer veterinary services to seniors in need. Or especially in these challenging times, we are finding some people are coming up with food shortage or needing home calls. So I think a lot of these services, if they apply to provide a different service other than reduced cost adoption, could kind of fall under the general umbrella of pet retention, helping older adults not have to relinquish their animal because they've come up against a difficulty or a challenge with healthcare for the animal or food for the animal, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a huge need. I know in a different lifetime when I had a holistic pet food delivery business that I tried to provide as much free food for the seniors that I knew were up against challenges like that, because often they'll buy food for their pet before they'll buy that for them,
Yes,
because it's hard to tell your pet, no, I don't have food for you. They don't understand. You understand what's going on. They do not. Or they would buy um, food and medicine for the pet instead of themselves,
right.
which it creates another world of challenges and problems with that as well. So that's amazing that you guys are stepping into that role and doing that. I'm glad to hear that.
It will be small at first. We have, I believe, 5 shelters that are converting to offering others. And then funding allowing, we are accepting applications from shelters that are not yet in our program who hope to offer these services. So hopefully we'll be able to expand further. We're hoping that this gives us kind of an organic entry. We have a few states where we don't currently have a participating shelter. Perhaps this expansion of services will allow us to be in more places and serve more seniors.
Well, I hope one of those are in the Dayton or Cincinnati area, because I know you have a lot of shelters here in Ohio, because it started in Ohio, right?
That's
You just
correct, in
don't
the
have any
Cleveland
in the
area.
Dayton and Cincinnati area. So I hope to see some of those on the list as well. But tell us how that happened that you guys started in Ohio.
Our founder was from Cleveland. He sold a business, and he was already in his 70s, I believe, when he sold the business. And he was a single man, and he, as I mentioned earlier, he just knew how important his dog was to him, to keep him feeling healthy and connected. And it's interesting, this was in 1992, and I think that was just on the cusp before some of the medical evidence started coming out. At best, we had this story about how having a pet helps you reduce your blood pressure if you pet it. And he just seemed to know intuitively that there was something to this animal human bond. Since then, there has been more and more research. We've found publications in the Harvard Women's Health Newsletter saying how beneficial it is to have a pet, how it helps reduce heart disease, so it is so much more than just this reducing blood pressure. It is interesting too that he seemed to pick up on the isolation aspect or the connectedness aspect. We attended a seminar recently, well, about 2 years ago now, about isolation in seniors, and the health impact of feeling isolated can be the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. But again, he had this commitment, and he put his money to work. Now growing the program, we need more. We're trying to grow, but he had that very early commitment. So he started out with this idea, with his funding, and signed up a few shelters in the Cleveland area, and went along that way for a while, from about 1992 to 2002. And in 2002, he decided to make a push, and we started signing up shelters from other areas. And right now we have 52 shelters in 34 states, and we want to grow that.
That is amazing. You know, you and I talked about a while back when we first met and talked that how a lot of seniors live for their pets,
Yes.
literally. That they, I told you about a story of a woman that I know who has said, often I feel like I would give up if it wasn't for the fact that I know my pets need me. And so that often provides an alley for them to take better care of themselves, to get more medical attention when they need it, to get out and walk more with their dog or whatever, and keep their health up so that they're there longer to take care of those pets.
And
And
stick to a routine.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that there's an organization out there that focuses on this and is aware of this stuff. Now, do you guys, is it just dogs and cats? Can people adopt ferrets? What?
Just dogs and cats. We define companion animals as dogs and cats. Uh, that seems to be the most medical evidence, and also seems to be some, especially when we first started, there were a lot of limitations. So many seniors rented, and so they had to have the pet limitations. Cats seemed to be a little more acceptable to a lot of renters. We're not coming up against that quite as much as we used to, but we do still get the calls about, can you help me? Can you make my apartment complex allow this? But at that point in time, and what our charter states, is that a companion animal from a shelter is a dog or cat.
Okay. And you guys have been getting a lot of attention lately, right? You just told me that you had an interview with CNN.
I did. It's not been put to press yet, from what I understand, but we released a press release a couple of weeks ago about this expansion in the program. And in the press release, we highlighted the isolation gap that is occurring, particularly now in this time of COVID. And it just seemed to catch the eye of a lot of people. So we've already been picked up by today.com and People Magazine and several other sources. So, and I have 2 or 3 interviews out there that haven't hit yet. I'll let you know when they do.
Absolutely.
We are just so honored, and so, we're a very small group of very dedicated people, and it's one adoption at a time, and suddenly here we are at 100,000. And to get that recognition, to have it resonate with people, has been so gratifying. We've been very committed, and now people recognize the importance of the work.
Now, if somebody is looking to get involved with your organization, there's opportunities as far as like donating money, right? You always need money to grow. Are you looking for any volunteers, or would you suggest that they go volunteer at a local shelter, or what are your other needs right now?
We are, as I said, a very small group, and I've been home-based since 2008, since shortly before our founder passed. So I have had people in my home helping me do the work, but at this point in time, that's not feasible. Right. Really, our true needs are financial. That's the best way we can grow and expand the program. And truly, if not just for our participating shelters, but shelters are always in need of volunteers, and we would definitely encourage that. It's important for there to be volunteers, and it's important that there be compassionate volunteers, people who understand that older adults are capable adopters, and people who treat them kindly. That's one of the things we encourage with the shelters that are in our program, is that they be a safe place for adopters to at least attempt. Some cannot qualify for various reasons, but it has to be a kind and safe place to attempt to adopt.
Yeah, I think often, I know here in Ohio, especially, I think we have a problem about, people that hoard animals and get into that scenario. And you certainly don't want to adopt more animals out to somebody who's already hoarding animals. And they always have the best intention. They love the animals, but they just get overwhelmed and they financially or physically can't take care of them. And do you keep track of animals as you adopt them out? Like, or is that literally up to the shelter to make sure that they're going to a safe home, or do you work with them on that? How does that work?
That's up to the shelter. We believe that they all use their best practices in qualifying their adopters. And a couple of shelters have been with us almost since the beginning, and it's not as infrequent now that they don't have adoption counselors. I think all but two of our current participating shelters, they were grandfathered in before this was as commonplace as it is now, but almost all have counselors. And the guidance we give them is to be sensible with their placements. You don't put an energetic puppy with someone who can't handle it, will, uses a walker, will get tangled in the leash, that kind of thing. But for the most part, they do the clearing, they do the monitoring. Quite often, we have gotten to the point where we know how important bonded pairs can be, and we will allow them to give the discount on 2 animals at one time. If it's a bonded pair that are staying together, we think that that's important for the animal. And our guidance, again, in that case, is just be sure this isn't someone who's collecting. And they do. The application forms, if you've ever filled out an application form at a shelter, they can be pretty intense.
They can. My dog Othello right now is from a shelter, and they almost weren't going to let me have him because I didn't have a fenced-in yard. But here they had him in a cage for a year and a half, and I'm like, let's weigh the options here. Which is worse,
Right.
going for walks and playing and being in a home that loves them, or being in a cage. So when you're looking at shelters in that scenario, are there certain things that could disqualify a shelter if they wanted to apply for it? I mean, do you have things like they have to be a no-kill shelter or a low-kill shelter? Are there certain qualifications with that you guys look at?
We don't require they be a no-kill shelter. Our fundamental premise, the very first one, was to help clear these shelters, provide this financial incentive for people to adopt so that these animals don't face euthanasia. So that was what motivated our founder in 1992. We're finding fewer and fewer shelters that do euthanize for space, but that is not a requirement for application. Our basic requirement is that they are a 501c3, or that they have a Friends of organization who helps them that can provide the 501c3 status.
Okay.
We require that any shelter, should the unthinkable happen and the animal is about to become homeless, if the senior predeceases or becomes impaired in some way, they have to at least agree to take the animal back if there's not a family member who wants to provide a home for that dog or cat. Other than that, it's stability, financial need, proof that they can manage the program, report to us accordingly. Right now, because our focus is so much on getting into states where we don't have a participating shelter, right now, if someone, say from Ohio, were to apply, they would probably be put on a waiting list, because I realize that we aren't everywhere in the state, but by comparison, we have one tiny shelter in Texas, which is just, so if someone from Texas were to apply, they would not probably be placed on a waiting list. But one of the first things we look at right now is, do we have a participant in that state?
Right.
It is important to us. We feel a very strong obligation to the people who support us financially to monitor how that funding is used and that it's used properly. So being able to report to us is an important consideration.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate all the hard work that you do, Susan. And I wish you all the best in your expansion growth and whatnot. I know that we have pledged to help you out as we grow, to help you grow as well. So um, like I said, I've always had this huge love for animals, and I pass that on to my daughter,
Oh,
who
that's
works
good.
with a startup nonprofit right now as well for cats. And there's a lot going on with her and that going on. So we've just always kind of, shared the love through pets throughout the family. My parents have a little dog, and I know that just makes my mom so pleased to have this little fellow running around, and he was a rescue as well. So just being able to make seniors happy one way or another, whether it's through information or, like I said, we do happy bags to senior homes throughout our area, and putting stuff in there like that, as well, to being able to make seniors happy with pets and stuff like that. Just there's so much disparity and sadness right now with
Oh,
COVID going
yes.
on, and seniors not being able to get out and visit friends and family, and go walking as much as they did and stuff like that. So to have somebody running around their home that's dependent on them definitely changes that picture quite a bit.
I'd like to mention that our program is, we talk about seniors, it is for people age 60 and over, and it's not a financial requirement. It's simply an age requirement. And don't just dismiss our activity level because we're over 60. I am winking at 70 myself, and I'm still perfectly capable and active and able to care for my dogs. Uh, but I still need that connection. And I think you and I talked about it the last time we spoke, how only one of my grandchildren lives nearby, but because of my age and my husband's age, I don't get to see her. These dogs are keeping me walking and connected. And it is that feeling of isolation for seniors can be extreme. And I would much rather talk to my dog than my Alexa speaker.
Yeah. Like I said, I live alone, and if it wasn't for my dog, I don't know what kind of state of condition I would be in. You'd
I,
find me about, pile of blubbering, sad floor. But I
yes,
will tell
yes. Hold it together or you'll scare the dog,
you,
right?
right? And I will tell you that throughout my life, the people that I've been around that have been senior citizens could run circles around me. So definitely do not discount anybody just because they're a senior, because they are strong and willpowered, and have the knowledge to tell people how it is as well. And that's something that I love about seniors as well. So.
Oh, that's
Susan,
good
thanks so
to
much
hear.
for taking the time to be with us. I know how busy you are these days, and with all these other big time interviews and stuff. And I'm so grateful for you that you had the time to sit down and tell us about your organization. And I hope that it just grows leaps and bounds for you, and can just make a world of difference in so many people's lives.
Thank you. We really appreciate you talking with us and highlighting us.
All right, Susan, have a great day. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you
Oh,
too.
wait a minute. So one
Yes.
more thing. How can people get in touch with you, or what do they do so that you have a website that they can go on and find a shelter near them, right?
Yes, it is petsfortheelderly.org.
Okay.
And there are several links there. There's one link for the partner shelters, participating shelters. And if you're looking at it on a computer, it's actually an interactive map. Otherwise, if you're on a handheld device, there's a list in alphabetical order by state. All of my contact information, mailing address, telephone number, email address, it's all there. And because I work from home, I'm almost always available. So
Yeah, when you
uh,
and I first talked, it was a Sunday evening, wasn't it? Like
yes,
around 10
yes,
o'clock at night. At least 10 o'clock my time. I think you're a couple hours behind us. So, all right,
so
Susan, I will
thank
put
you.
your contact information in the comments below as well, so people can get in touch with you.
Thank
And like I said, if we can do anything to help you more or whatever, just reach out in reverse as well.
I will. Thank you.
All right, Susan, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.